Alright guys, what's going on? Spark here. We're back again with some deck analysis for Berserker Rage. So the theory behind this deck is trampoline creatures that get really big. It's basically the only way to put it. I was thinking I was going to like this deck a lot more than I did. It wasn't quite up to my expectations. So let's go ahead and go into it. 4 Terramorphic Expanses again, just usual Terramorphic Expanses. As much as I hate them, they're in here. Berserk. Cast Berserk only before the combat damage step. Target creature gains trample and gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is its power. At the beginning of your next end step, destroy that creature if it attacked this turn. So, you can use it if your opponent attacks you with a small creature. You can use it to do a ton more damage with your creatures. Great card. Definitely recommend playing it. Essence Warden. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. This is misplaced in this deck, I feel like. It's good against some decks, and it's good in the Archenemy format, but it's not good in the 1v1 that I tend to play. Just because, so you maybe gain 7 life if it doesn't die. That's a lot of life, but it's not going to help you. I'd rather have something else that's a viable creature than an Essence Warden. So I don't play the Essence Warden. Plays 2 Rancors. Enchanted creature gets +2/+0 and has trample. And if Rancor is put in the graveyard from the battlefield, return it to its owner's hand. So the only time that you can stop a Rancor is when it's on the stack, or by removing it from the battlefield. Not the creature, the actual enchantment has to be removed. So, it's a good card, especially in this type of deck. It plays 2 Tattermunge, and I really wish it would play 4. But it plays 2. It attacks each turn if able to 2/1 for 1 mana. And I play the Yolvenwild Tracker. Target creature you control fights another target creature for 1 green and 1. It's like, that's just a good way to deal with some of the creatures that get out of control. I am not playing the Apocalypse Hydra. Apocalypse Hydra enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it, so it's 3 mana for a 1/1. If X is 5 or more, it enters the battlefield with an additional X +1/+1 counters on it, so you have to pay 7 mana for it to be a 10/10. And you remove a counter, and it deals 1 damage to target creature or player. 7 mana for a 10/10 isn't bad. It's not bad. It's just, that's 7 mana. That's not a 2 cost. That's a 6+. And he might be viable. We might try and get him in here. But for now, probably not. It's just, he doesn't get big enough and stay big enough. And there's no way to bring him back except for the Vengeful Rebirth, which I'm really not a fan of, in all honesty. But anyway, so let's take a look at Colossal Might. Target creature gets +4/+2 and gains trample until end of turn. Amazing in this deck. I don't think you need all 4 of them. I've been playing 3 up to this point, and they've been reliable for me. My only concern with this is that there are a lot of 2 cost, and very few of them are creatures. We have 4 2 cost here that aren't creatures, and it's just, yeah, so about that. Anyway, let's go ahead and look at Fling. Fling is as an additional cost, you sacrifice a creature, it deals X damage to target creature, deals that sacrificed creature's power to target creature or player. So, here's your scenario. You go Tattermunge, turn 2. Turn 3, you equip it with Rancor and pump it. And then turn 4, you pump it and fling it. Or Berserk it and fling it. You know, you can just do a ton of stuff with Berserk, Fling, and pump cards. So the 1-of Fling definitely has to stay in the deck. I don't think I had any games where I got to play Fling, but it does a lot of powerful things. And it's a great way to finish off your opponent. It's a great way to stay in shape too. Because, I mean, look at this guy. Look at that arm. Yeah. Alright. The Cruel Guildmage. 4 mana. 3 and 1 red. Sack a land. Cruel Guildmage deals 2 damage to target player. That's great when you get mana flooded. 3 in a forest. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. That's the best ability on him. There are a lot of combat tricks and For some reason, people just tend to not know what he does, and he's really powerful. So, definitely worth checking him out. I keep all 3 of them in there. The Tattermunge Witch. Each blocked creature gets +1/+0 and gains trample to end of turn. Now, up to this point, I haven't been playing them. And I really should be, because my biggest problem in the games that you're going to watch is that there are very, very rarely do I draw little creatures to be on the field and do things. So this guy's a turn 2 that you can drop and then pump. So I feel like he's got to stay in there. As much as I don't like him, his ability is decent. But he's more in there because he's a body than for anything else. I don't like the idea of paying a 3 mana for a 3/3 that has to attack each turn, because sometimes you just don't want the creature to attack. If he had trample or something that made him a little bit better and made him worth attacking, it'd be okay. But I don't like it. I just don't like it. Branching Bolt absolutely has to stay in here, because you can pick one or both. And it's Branching Bolt deals 3 damage to target creature with flying, and or Branching Bolt deals 3 damage to target creature without flying. So it gives you the option to kill 2 creatures, or it gives you the option to just kill 1 if you want to. You don't have to target your own. So Branching Bolt definitely has to stay in here. Now the 3 mana cost creatures, this one might be, I mean, this is the part of the deck that starts to get difficult to decide, because there are a lot of 3-cost creatures. It's just, after comparison to other decks, your 3-cost creatures aren't that powerful in retrospect to all the other things. Now, I would like to keep these guys in here because they're bodies, but they're just vanilla 3/3s. Like, that's my problem with them, is they're just vanilla 3/3s. Now, the Pharaoh Animist is nice because, again, he can just get out of control if you Berserk him, and then pay 3 mana and Berserk him again, and pay 3 mana and Berserk him again. He gets out of control very quickly. But he's just a 2/1 up to that point, and his butt doesn't get any bigger. He's just a 2/1 for 3 mana. So, I mean, I can't justify playing him. Fires of Yamavaya. Creatures you control have haste. Sack it. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Now, you have so many pump spells, and your creatures don't need haste because most of the time you're concerned about pumping them the turn after they come out and attack. Very rarely do you have the mana to play a creature and pump it in the same turn. So I'd take out the fires. Mage Slayer. Equipped creature attack, it deals damage equal to its power to defending player. This is really good, and it's going to have the same effect on me that I had for the Lightning Greaves. Oh, look, it has a wonderful ability, but there's your turn 3 and your turn 4. Is it really justified taking 2 turns to play this and equip it? It's like, okay, late game would be nice, but late game, hopefully your opponent's dead. I mean, I've never made it past turn 7 with this deck. Either I win or they lose. You guys get it? Anyway, no. Either I lose or they lose. Very quickly. This deck has a lot of power early on. If you don't drop the creatures, you lose. If you drop the creatures and you overpower them and just continually burst over their creatures and trample, you're going to win. You don't need the Mage Slayer. The only time that... I don't even think I've ever come close where dealing double damage at the expense of 6 mana would have been worth it. You do double damage with the expense of 1. So I can't justify the Mage Slayer. We've taken out almost every 3-cost at this point, haven't we? Wow. The Sacred Wolf is hexproof. He's a 3/1. Now, the bad part is he's a 3/1. But he's hexproof. He can't be targeted by your opponents. He can only be targeted by you, so you can play him and they cannot respond to your action of equipping Rancor or your action of Colossal Might and then Berserk. They're taking 14 from him off of that. And that's awesome. They can't, the only thing they can do is they can go, oh, I can block. But if they block, you're just killing a lot of creatures. Or still dealing a ton of damage and killing creatures. So, I do like the Sacred Wolf. I kept him in there. I keep all 4 of the Wild Size in. because target creature gets +2/+2 and gains trample until end of turn. Draw a card. This is more for the draw card effect than it is for anything else. But it's, it's not the best pump card, but it is for the trample and for the draw ability. I think it's worth it. But see, that's my 3 cost, and I don't like that because I feel like there should definitely be another creature in here, because up to this point we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 creatures. 10 creatures that we can play before turn 3. It's like, that's just not enough. So I definitely feel like we need to play some sort of other creature. I think we'll put the Feral Animist back in. Puts us at 11. And much to my disagreement, no, I can't. I can't justify a vanilla 3/3 for 3 mana. Just, no. Can't justify that. So we'll play the Feral Animist, but there's a huge possibility that you might need to add more 3-cost creatures. 4, though, is really where the deck starts to shape into what you want it to be. Boar Tuskaliege, trample, other red creatures you control get +1/+1, other green creatures you control get +1/+1. Now, he's got trample. He's not the best, but, he is a liege, and he pumps everybody else, so you might as well play him. Breath of Fury. We're going to get into the same argument I've had with this deck the entire time. Enchant creature you control. When enchant creature deals combat damage to a player, sack it. Attach Breath of Fury to another creature. If you do, untap all creatures you control, and after this phase, there's an additional combat phase. I would really like Breath of Fury. It's just the only problem is the same one I've had. We play 11 creatures up to this point, and you can't really just justify sacking a bunch of creatures. You have to know when to play Breath of Fury, and your opponent has to just not have an answer for the creature that's on the field with Breath of Fury. Because if you attack and they remove soul or counter something, or they counter it coming into play or anything, that's your entire strategy just out the window. You rely on the one card to finish them off, and there's 100 different answers they can have. Or they can just chump block the creature that has Breath of Fury, unless it has trample. But if you have 2 mana up, they're going to be like, oh, look, he's probably ready for a Colossal Might. I better put 4 more damage in front of this creature. And then Breath of Fury dies, and the entire strategy goes out the window again. So that's my argument with Breath of Fury. So I'm not playing those. There's a lot of other better 4-cost things as well. Community Colossus, proc black, changeling. He is every creature type at the same time. 4 mana, and he gets +X/+X, where X is his power. He can get out of control very, very quickly. I am playing the Scrappers, but I actually don't think I'm going to play the Scrappers. Now that I'm thinking about it, we're playing 4 mana for a 3/2 when we could pay 3 mana for a 4 or for a 3/3. To me, that doesn't make sense. Like, I like the haste aspect, but at the same time, wouldn't it be better to just have these 4 creatures in here and have them out of turn earlier and attacking the turn after? Because, I mean, that's the goal of the deck, is to play a creature and then the next turn attack and pump. Not to play a creature and attack with it. It's to play and pump. So yeah, I think that's been a mistake that I've been playing these Gruul Scrappers. I definitely think that makes this a little bit more viable. Now that we have creatures, Breath of Fury is Breath of Fury is a viable option. Mage Slayer is still not, but Breath of Fury is. Breath of Fury does have the possibility of being able to be used now. As much as I wish there were more 1-cost and 2-cost creatures that there are not to make Breath of Fury better, then that would be ideal. But for now, let's take a look at Rumbling Slums. Rumbling Slum. I love Rumbling Slum. At the beginning of your upkeep, it deals 1 damage to each player. A 5/5 for 4 mana. 5/5 for 4 mana that has the ability to do 1 damage each turn. That gets bonus power from the Liege and can be given trample by Wild Size. 5/5s for 4 mana are definitely amazing. I remember when these were previewed. I remember sitting in the Magic shop and someone goes, "Holy shit, did you see the new card?" And I was just like, yeah, you know, I saw a few of the cards that had come out. They're like, "You don't sound like you've seen the new card. It's a 5/5 for 4 mana." I'm like, "Okay, that sounds good." They're like, "That's not it. That is not it. Spellbreaker Behemoth can't be countered." It's like, it's a little powerful. Creatures, spells with you control with power 5 or greater can't be countered. Okay. How much did it cost again? 7? 6? 4? What? Yeah. So anyway, Spellbreaker Behemoth is good. Very good. Definitely a powerful card. And it's a good way to win against the Jace deck and the Talrand deck and things like that that have counter spells. Yulashot the Hate Seed enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each other red creature you control and +1/+1 for each other green creature you control. Remove a +1/+1 counter from it, deals 1 damage to target creature, or put a 1/1 Sapperling creature token into play. Now if you played more of these, it would definitely be viable to play these because you could just play one, put out a whole bunch of tokens, play another one, and it'd be out of control. But, unfortunately, you know, again, this is the turn 4 drop, and it's probably going to be like a 3/3. Just not good. It's a good way to deal with creatures. It's just, I don't like that aspect. Wickerbow Elder. Now, I mean, let's talk about the Hate Seed, though. There is, with most of these decks, there's different routes you can take. If you're looking to play Ulashot and the Breath of Fury, you could easily manipulate the deck to be around playing all the low-cost creatures, waiting to play the Hate Seed, and using the Hate Seed and the Hydra here to remove creatures that would threaten your Breath of Fury going off, and then finishing with Breath of Fury. So that is an entirely viable option, and it's a good option. I don't know how well it would work because you're relying on 2 cards that are just one-ofs in the deck, which is the problem I had with the green-black token that I was trying to generate. It just didn't work very well. But anyway, let's continue on with the deck. But that is a viable option, though. That is in here. I'm not saying that they are completely and utterly worthless cards, like some of the other ones later. Wickerbow Elder enters the battlefield with a -1/-1 counter on it. Remove the counter, destroy target artifact or enchantment. I don't really see much of a problem with artifacts and enchantments. I think the only deck that's actually going to pose a threat to you is whether or not worship hits the field, or that's the only thing I can see that would be like, oh yeah, I might not be able to deal with that. But playing 2 cards for only a one-of in one of the, I don't know how many decks we're up to now, 15, 16, something. It seems like a waste to me, because you can deal with pretty much everything else. So Berserkers of Bloodrage have to attack each turn, and they're vanilla, or they're 4/4s for 5 mana. It's like, I didn't like playing the 3 mana one for 3. Or the 3/3 for 3 mana one. I don't think I'm going to play the 5. Blitz Hellion's a good way to get in for a lot of damage. Now, if you can organize an attack properly, again with the Breath of Fury, so that the turn that you played the Blitz Hellion, that you can equip it onto something else and re-attack with the Blitz Hellion, and then re-attack with the Blitz Hellion, and just finish on turn 5 with that, it's definitely a viable option to keep the Blitz Hellions in. Now for me, I'm not a fan of, like I said, I'm playing this deck. My entire goal of this deck is play creature, next turn attack and pump. Play a creature, next turn attack and pump. Play a creature, next turn attack and pump. Now, again, the Blitz Hellion's outstanding, and he's a great finisher. But this deck should not be looking at a high mana cost. You know, this is, I want to win turn 5, turn 6 at the latest. And I guess, you know, Blitz Hellion does help you with that. I just don't think I can fit him in at the moment. We'll leave him in for now, but he is definitely a viable option that I'm taking out. Deuce of Calamity absolutely has to stay in here. And I don't understand how the black and red deck gets 4 or 3 of the demigods, and this deck only gets 1 Deuce. Like that it just baffles my mind that they were like, oh yeah, well everything else is just a little bit, and this deck is just a little too overpowered. It's like, it's really not. The Deuce is, you know, your win condition. You should actually want to ramp up to the Deuce. You know, the Deuce should be dropped turn 4, not turn 5. But anyway, it's like the purpose of the Deuce is to stop your opponent before he gets to his endgame. I digress. Outstanding card, a lot of power. Whenever he deals 6 or more damage to an opponent, destroy target land that player controls. Trample. With the pump spells, you basically destroy land whenever you want. As long as he attacks and gets through, for, you know, they put a 2/2 in front of him, you know, you just pump him and kill him, and go on your way. Runes of the Deuce. As long as enchanted creature is red, it gets +1/+1, has double strike. As long as it's green, it gets +1/+1 and has trample. It's a very high mana cost card, but it's definitely worth it for that. That is just so powerful. Now here's where I was playing the debating between the Blitz Hellion and the Shivan Worm. The Shivan Worm enters the battlefield, return a red or green creature you control to its owner's hand, which isn't really that difficult. You attack with the creature, and then return it after you attack step during your second main phase, and the Shivan Worm is a big scary creature that they have to deal with. Whereas this has to be played during your main phase, and can be answered to, you know, the creature, all that fun stuff. I don't think you need 4 7/7s to end the game. You very well might, but like the problem is there are a lot of cards in the deck right now. We're at 73 and I only have a few more cards to take out. The Shivan Worm's a little bit more permanent, and it has trample. It doesn't have haste, but it has trample. So I'm definitely keeping the Shivan Worms in here. Silverback Ape, 5/5 vanilla, 5/5. No. Stonebrow Croson Hero, trample. Whenever a creature you control with trample attacks gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Now my only problem with him is it makes your combat tricks worthless. If you go, I want my creature to get +2/+2, you got to activate your ability, or you got to play the spell during your main phase to give your creature +2/+2 in trample, or +4/+2 in trample from Colossal Might or Wild Growth, and then they know what's coming. You know, they can't. You know, they can easily respond now and be like, oh, haha, you wasted your card. Whereas, you know, they might just not block a creature and wait for you to play a spell, and you don't, and then you kill them. You know, things like that. It just, so I don't like taking out your combat tricks when the deck is around combat tricks. So I don't play the Stonebrow. Let's put the last 3 in here because we're there. Let's take a look at Soul Blast. Additional cost of Soul Blast: sacrifice all creatures you control. Deals damage to target creature or player equal to the total power of sacrificed creatures. This is very expensive, and you have Fling. Now this might be a good finisher in Arch Enemy, you know, when you get down to the end game, and it's just you and opponent left, and you still have a lot of your creatures, and they still have a lot of theirs, and this might be a win condition. But even then, probably not. Vengeful Rebirth, I've actually was playing for quite a bit. It's return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. If you return a non-land card to your hand this way, Vengeful Rebirth deals damage equal to its converted, that card's converted mana cost to target creature or player. Exile Vengeful Rebirth. so that you can't just sit there and reactivate them one after another. My feelings about this is it's great if you have a 5/5 in your graveyard. I'm not keen about sacrificing my 5/5s or my 5 mana cost creatures, and it's a good card. It is. It's definitely viable in the deck. I don't think I'm going to play it because, again, I'm more around play pump or play attack pump. Play attack pump the following turn. That type of feel. And this just does not feel like it fits in there for me. Because every time that I've had it in my hand, it's a one of. So if you draw it early, it's bad. If you draw it too late, it's bad. The highest mana cost creature that we're playing up to this point is 5 mana. So it can do no more than 5 mana for 6 and return a card, which is awesome. But at the same time, it just... so often it's not going to hit your 5 cost cards. You only play 7 of them. It's not going to hit your 4 cost cards. You only play 4 of them. So it's looking at 3 or less damage and returning one of those 3 cost cards to your hand. And those aren't the cards you want to bring back. So I feel like too often it's in your hand with no proper target. Borborgamus. Trample whenever deals combat damage to a player. Put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Now, I mean, he's awesome. He's a finisher, for sure. But you actually have to have the creatures out there. So, I mean, he just seems like a clear cut to me. He costs 7 mana for a 6/7. And you have to have creatures out there, or he's not good. I mean, he gets bigger. Don't get me wrong. You know, he attacks, he gets bigger. But if you don't have the creatures out there to support him, he's just not there. And Skargan Skybreaker. Bloodthirst 3. Deals combat damage equal to its power to target creature or player. Now, I mean, he's good. Don't get me wrong. It just doesn't fit into the feel of the deck. So, we have 6 more cards that we need to take out. Now, this is the hard part. We're playing a lot of 3 cost cards. A lot of 3 cost cards. Now that we have the other cards in here, I feel like we can cut down one of these guys. Now that we're playing the Pharaoh Animist and one of each of those, I feel like that's a lot safer. And then that way we're not playing, you know, we're good on 3 drops whether we have red or green mana, because sometimes it tends to be weird. Actually, you know what, I'm not even going to do that. We're going to do that way, because I would rather not have to attack with the creature. So let's look. We got 4 more cards. We play a lot of pump spells. A lot of pump spells. I feel like we might have too many. I know, blasphemy. But anyway, let's get rid of one of those guys. I think that'll be okay. Yeah, it still gives us 3 pumps. That 3 mana. We still have 3 pumps at 2 mana, right? Yeah. And we have 2 pumps at 1 mana. I'm okay with that. Let's see. 3 more cards. I'm definitely not a fan of the Blitz Hellion. So I'm going to get rid of those right now. I'd rather have something be more permanent than pay 5 mana to just attack with a creature. Now, it does have trample. I mean, that's awesome. It's just, if I was doing that, I would just rather be a 6/1 and be a Ball Lightning and pay 3 mana for it. Now, that's what I'm comparing the Blitz Hellion to. Now, you can definitely play the Blitz Hellion. It's just, I don't feel like it fits for me. You know, I want mine to just... I want to get up to turn 4 or 5. Because, I mean, this is our power here. This is our power. And I'd rather have something permanent out there. But I feel like they were making the endgame too weak. But in order to get to the endgame, we need to have the powerful little creatures to be out there. Ugh. This is a part of the deck that's just terrible to try and build. I think Tattermunge Witch is okay now that we have creatures. Let's see. 1 more card to get rid of. think if I was going to have to drop a card, it would probably be... I mean, this is like the clear choice. It's like, I'm a vanilla 3/3. I don't belong in the deck. If we do that, what happens? 7, 9, 10, 4, 5. Okay. How many creatures do we have before turn 3 that we can drop? Let's take a look. We've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 cards before turn 3. Or at turn 3. I think that's viable. I think this will be the final version of the deck. I mean, like I said, there's a ton of options that you can do with this deck. It's not as powerful as it should be, and with that, there's a lot of things that can easily be substituted for something else. You can play it a lot more aggressively. You can play it a lot more around just having creatures out in the field. And play it around being hasty and just being like, I'm annoying and I'm going to drop a creature and swing and kill you. You know, things like that. It's just, there's a lot of different ways you can go with this deck. There's really no clear-cut one deck, and as I feel, is my feeling. So anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at the final version of the deck, because I didn't do this for the last one and it was brought to my attention, and I apologize because I usually do and just completely forgot about it. So anyway, we've got 4 Terramorphic Expanses, 2 Berserks, 2 Rancors, 2 Tattermunge Maniacs, 1 Yulvenwild Tracker, 3 Colossal Mites, 1 Fling, 2 Gruul Guild Mages, 2 Tattermunge Witches, and a Partridge in a Pear Tree. 3 Branching Bolts, 1 Centaur Courser, 1 Feral Animist, 2 Sacred Wolves, 3 Wild Sizes, a Boar Tusk Liege, a Chameleon Colossus, a Rumbling Slum, a Spellbreaker Behemoth, a Deuce of Calamity, 2 Runes of the Deuce, and 2 Shivan Worms. And it doesn't really have the end game that I would want, but you have the pump to make it a better end game. So I think that's the list. There are a lot of other things you can do with this. This is the deck that I feel like is the most viable. Looking at things, I definitely think the Blitzellians can belong in the deck. I definitely think that the Vengeful Wrath can belong in the deck. I definitely think that the Hate Seed and Scrappers and Breath of Fury belong in the deck. The Wild Size. I think you could probably fit Mage Slayer in there somehow. You might be able to fit the Apocalypse Hydra, Colossal Might, things like that. It's a very, very tight list because you do need to have the early creatures for your pump to be good. You know, you want to get in there before you get to turn 10 because your opponent's going to have a creature that can deal with your pumped creature then. Or they're going to have an answer for your pumped creature. So, that's the way I'm playing it. Let me know what you guys think below. Let me know if there's any changes you'd make, anything like that. And most of all, just thanks for watching, guys. As soon as the next deck pack comes out, I'm guessing it'll probably be the next expansion that comes out will be the guild right before Guild Crash or Gate Crash comes out, and it'll be like another expansion. So we'll cover all of that fun jazz again, and when that comes out, I'm guessing that'll be the next thing. But whatever comes out next, we'll record it. We'll be out. It'll be a good time. So, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you later.